The Knicks have a real shot to make the playoffs, obviously. But they also have a real shot to win a playoff series. Now, you think about that, it means you have to be better than one of the top 4 teams in the conference. Even if they're, by the end of the season, among the top 4 teams in the conference, as they are now. I mean, like, if you really evaluated teams, who's the best? Who has the most talent? Well, the East has, obviously, the Sixers and the Bucks at the top. Toronto, Boston. Could you imagine if the Knicks wound up playing the Celtics in a 4-5 matchup? By the way, the Heat. If the Knicks played the Heat or the Celtics look like the vulnerable ones. But, like, look at the upper-end talent on the Celtics in Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Knicks don't have anyone like that. I love Quickly, and he should get more minutes, but I ain't Tatum or Brown yet, or maybe ever, right? And yet, would I think at this moment the Knicks have a chance to win that series if they matched up? Yeah, I think they'd have a shot. What? Isn't that bananas? The Knicks have a shot to beat a team with actual talent? Meantime, Casey Powell, CP the franchise, founder of Knicks Fan TV, got a Twitter following, is going to be joining me in a few minutes to chop up the Knicks. A lot of Knicks fans mad because I, who used to pull the bandwagon for the Knicks, I abandoned them. I sold them right out. That's right, and I'm glad I did it. Oh, I hate those Knicks. They brought me nothing but misery and suffering and heartache my entire life. Do you know, when I was in New York years ago, the Max Kellerman show, Max Kellerman listener soldiers know what I'm talking about from the old days. Max Kellerman Army in New York knows what I'm talking about. Do you know back then, we used to have a Knicks fan, like an abused Knicks fans hotline? You call up and let that. And by the way, at a certain point, we couldn't follow the team anymore. It was years of like being a laughingstock. We started following the New York Cavs of Cleveland. I thought, why not? The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim? Well, for that, let's just pick a team we want to follow. LeBron was on the Cavs back then, his first go-round with the Cavs. We said the New York Cavs of Cleveland. Why not? It's within 1,000 miles. Used to have Mike Brown on, the coach of the Cavs at the time, as though he was our coach. And that was before Dolan had Charles Oakley escorted from Madison Square Garden. Meantime, Brian Windhorst said, I guess it was yesterday, Windy said that within 12 months, a major NBA superstar is going to demand a trade to the Knicks. That only happens when you have a healthy culture. I never thought I'd see the day while Dolan was owner, who has fans escorted from the Garden for having signs that say fire Dolan. It's just harmless. Has fan escorted from the Garden. Has Charles Oakley escorted from Madison Square Garden. Charles Oakley. Imagine Paul O'Neill or Bernie Williams, someone showing up to Yankee Stadium, get escorted out. Think about that for a second. What's next? Eli Manning's going to show up to a Giants game, get escorted out. But maybe Dolan's gotten out of his own way. Enough for the new regime, and they've gone through regime after regime with the Knicks, to establish a healthy culture. Do you understand that's all? Here's the infuriating thing for Knicks fans. Do you understand all these years? That's all it took. All you had to do with the Knicks is create a healthy culture. And then New York sells itself. Do you think these basketball stars who have their minds on their brands, on becoming billionaires today, do you think that these stars don't want to be in New York City? Do you know how many high-flying superstars the Knicks have ever had, like above-the-rim superstars? The answer is 0. Sorry, Gerald Wilkins doesn't count. Carmelo Anthony wasn't above the rim. Patrick Ewing was a back-to-the-basket player. Bernard King was not above the rim. Neither was Clyde or Earl the Pearl. None of these guys is that like Dr. J was, played for the New York Nets in the NBA, in the ABA. Knicks have never had a guy like that, ever. And I was so convinced years ago, LeBron's going to go to New York. Of course, he wants to establish his brand and his legacy. LeBron took one look at the mess in Madison Square Garden and said, get the hell out of here. I'm not going to that mess. And that's what the Knicks haven't been able to give away their money. That Julius Randle finally learned how to shoot a three-pointer has been a revelation because they signed him up because no one else would take the money. But if you get a healthy culture like the Nets have done, then KD and Kyrie will take your money. Then James Harden will force his way there through a trade. That's what happens. And maybe that's going to happen with the Knicks now. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.